So what it is not, it's not a monkey business, not really. It's not overacting. It's not just throwing something in for throwing something into your talk's sake. I've had a few people I've worked with and they've worked with it and then they come back and everything they do and has something to do with stagecraft. Yes, as Preston said, it can be movement. It can be hand gestures. It can be body language. It can be moving upstage or downstage in the stage and towards the audience and away from the audience. It can be a lot of different things. Can everybody mute their mute out just because for some reason suddenly I'm going to mute everybody. So hold on. Okay, we should have that settled. But it can be a lot of different things. So what is it that we feel like is the most important stuff to remember? Let me get back to here. That it's not a gimmick either. I've seen a lot of speakers come onto the stage and they do something, and I'm going to use a really bad example. So I'm so excited to be here. I just flew in from Alaska and my arms are really tired. Okay, that's old speaker stuff. That sort of stuff, it has to be super, super intentional. Make sure that whatever you're going to put in, so like what I just did, which is kind of my natural way of being, whatever you're going to put in, there was an emphasis of each word. I had a reason that I was doing that reach. I probably wouldn't do that every time, but there's a purpose behind why I would use that particular body language. It has to be super intentional, not for shock value. Humor is part of this as well. When we do the big full stagecraft VIP program that we do, I bring Jeremy, who's on our team, in. He's done a lot of comedy. He was a comedian. He's an actor. And we talk through the purposeful comedy that happens. It is not necessarily rolling the dice and seeing if something will work. Now, I'm going to tell a little quick story about that because I was on stage very early in my career. And I didn't really want to be on this stage. I was tired. I had driven an hour and a half to get to the gig. I was getting paid. So, hey, you put your big boy, big girl pants on and you just get out there and make it happen. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And it happened to be at a college and the students were all there for the one reason, to get a grade. So my energy was kind of like, they're just here. They're not going to be interested. And there was a lot of kids. There was over 400 students in this auditorium. About halfway through, I started realizing that I was connecting, but I wasn't connecting quite the way I had to. And I took the risk. I rolled the dice. Stagecraft is about rolling the dice when you know it's going to work. Now, there is some spontaneity. We're going to play a spontaneity game a little bit later here. But make sure that as you're putting stuff in, and one of the things I highly recommend is if you're going to try something new, don't do it in front of an audience that you're getting paid. Go find an audience that you can do, like some of you may be involved in Toastmasters. I actually had a couple of colleges and universities in the Southern California area when I lived there that were my guinea pigs. And the professors knew that. It's like, hey, we want Rick to come speak. Rick's not going to charge us anything, but Rick's going to, introduce new stuff to our students. And he's also we're going to let him use us as the playground, so to speak. Make sure that if you do that, you have agreements, but also sometimes do it in front of some audiences that they may not know you. Just make sure that you're using it in the right way. And don't use stagecraft as an unintentional move to make people do things. So here's the thing. What I believe is stagecraft, it engages, it stirs, and it transforms. Every time I've watched a dynamic speaker, I always feel my emotions get stirred up. I always feel like, wow, I'm totally engaged. Maybe not for the whole time they're speaking, but for a lot of the time, I am totally like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? Because they're doing an amazing thing on stage that actually leads to what all of us as speakers are trying to do. We're trying to move our audience from point A to point B and create a transformation. Now, that's a tall to order. And some of you may sit here going, wow, I didn't realize this is what I'm getting into. That's just one aspect of becoming a speaker. I believe deeply in every time I have the privilege, and I do consider it a privilege. Even today, I consider it a privilege to be speaking in front of each of you, to have, and Jose de Villargas, I think is his name. He's the NBC host, news host on Saturday nights on NBC. he always says, thank you for the privilege of your time. And the first time I ever heard him say, I'm like, that's what I'm going to anchor into as a speaker, because each person I have in front of me, they have given me the privilege of their time, just like you all have given me the privilege of your time today. If you get that privilege, make it a goal to transform. Now, that doesn't mean you have to wave a magic wand, even though there's sometimes I'm like, hey, I did pretty good. I waved a magic wand. How do I transform? I use the stage as my playground. And we're going to do a little playground stuff here in a few minutes. But I feel like it's where you get to go and have fun and try things and do things, but they're all with intention. The biggest mistake you can make in stagecraft is doing something and there's no purpose behind it. So like if I suddenly just stood up right now, which there was no reason for me to stand up, what just happened? I'm out of camera. You're looking at my big fat belly. You're seeing me, but you're not seeing me. Do it with intention. Have fun playing with things, but make sure each time you play, there's a purpose behind what we're doing. So here's where we're going to go today. We are going to talk about 3 ways you can make people raving fans and really grab their attention. I'm going to give you a tool that very few of us, until we get into the speaking business, use really, really effectively to captivate people. I'm also going to have you do one thing that has probably the most impact on stage. And it's going to probably surprise some of you, and others are going to go, I totally get it, totally get it, totally get it. I love storytelling. So I'm going to give you a couple things that storytelling that will help you as some of you are building your talk. Some of you have been speaking for a while. I want to invite anybody who's been speaking for a while to like chime in when we get to some of these breaks and go, yeah, here's what I do in storytelling, or here's what I do. I'm also going to give you what I call the playground method.